Hi, my name is Misha, and this is my friend here and co-host George Michaelopoulos, and this is Hegemonix. Welcome to everyone. We have a lot to talk about this week because when it rains, it pours, I suppose.
Boy, it does.
Yeah, and we were kicking around, what to call this episode or how to have the focus. And we kind of I think we're going to end up in the widest possible lens and just go from there. um but I think it's ominous developments that we're seeing in the
Very.
American body politic, and America obviously has a huge influence on the world political scene
Yeah.
as well. We had these two murders, which kind of I'm not sure exactly how to put it. They were, it's not like icing on the cake, but they're last straws, I suppose, is probably the best way to say it. In a long line of things with, like Steve Scalise and
Yeah.
even, the Democrats are saying about the thing in Minnesota, but that was a Democratic shooter.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Who worked for
and
Tim Walz, the
yeah, worked
governor?
for him. He was
Yeah.
appointed twice to different things. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so the gunfire is all, and the violence is all coming really from one side. And I think probably what part of it is they're losing on the domestic front. I think the ones that are savvy enough can look at the international front and see that they're losing on the international front as well, and look at what's happening in Europe. And this is a looking into the abyss. You kind of start doing desperate things. I think that's what it's coming to. I assume, and we've discussed this back and forth, and I'd like to get your take as of now on what it is. Well, I'll go ahead and ask you first before I offer an opinion of who was it that, I mean, we know who did the Zarutska murder. Some guy who was half with us and half not,
Yeah.
who has been indoctrinated by
Yeah.
the Democratic Party and liberals to hate white demons, and he just, you know, that's what happened. He snapped. Um, who do you think is behind this thing with Charlie Kirk?
Antifa? Oh, well, I don't know. I don't think it's Israel per se. Okay.
Hmm.
Because Israel is just a piece of land and it's a proxy. It, it, it is an army or a militia that is used by the international banking elite, as is the United States Army at times or whatever, or the German Army or whatever. Okay. Um, so I do know that Charlie was changing his mind. His mind was evolving on many issues, especially regarding Gaza. Okay. And there are more than enough people who know him who said, yes, he grew to detest Netanyahu. But he'd have to take a, a number and stand at a very long line at the end of a very long line.
Yeah,
I think Trump detests Netanyahu personally.
I'm sure. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. I mean, the fact that Netanyahu's had to come out twice now and to talk about what a wonderful man Charlie was, and it's absurd that it's Israelis or anything like that. It's like I said last week, the lady doth protest too much. Having
yeah,
said that,
yeah.
there's a confluence of, sides
Hmm.
that are more than happy to take out a certain person. I don't think the Israelis took out JFK or RFK. I
Hmm.
do think that there were international global interests, some of which were Jewish, some of which were Zionists, who
Hmm.
who did help take out JFK and RFK and the
Hmm.
USS Liberty and stuff like that. And they
Hmm.
use Israel as their proxy in the USS Liberty thing, for instance.
Mhm.
Um, at the same time, I just can't keep on getting it out of my mind. I was watching a little bit earlier of his memorial, and he was a good-looking guy, 6'5".
Yeah,
You're looking at a future president of the United States there.
probably. Yeah.
Yeah, and he had the biggest conservative, I'm gonna call it right wing thing, organization in America and probably the world. Cult of
Mhm.
personality, I get it, but, he was a very humble man, you
Mhm.
know, and, um, as you said earlier, they're losing, whoever
Mm.
they is,
Mhm.
and they're desperate, and desperate men do desperate things.
Yeah.
And rather than see him continue on this America First trajectory, that's what I'm gonna call it. I'm not gonna call it anti-Israel. I'm gonna call it America First,
Yeah.
okay? They decided to nip it in the bud right there. Is it gonna work? No. But is it in Shakespeare's Julius Caesar? He says, "There's a time and tide in the events of man." There's just certain things that you just can't stop. And if you
Yeah.
take out an avatar like Charlie, you may have taken out that particular avatar, but somebody else is gonna rise. Somebody probably more disagreeable to you.
Yes.
I mean, when I say the deep state, I mean the CIA, I mean the FBI, I mean
Right.
Mossad, I mean MI6.
Yeah.
Somebody
Yeah,
in
that's
the city of London, I don't know.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, to me, um,
What do you think?
yeah, I agree with you, just in general. I mean, I think, when it comes to who gave the final green light, I think it was probably the CIA. But I think it's one of those things where probably Mossad, if they didn't initiate the idea, signed off on it, as being in favor of it. Because they call them Five Eyes. They're all, um, I don't think, well, oh, set Five Eyes aside. Um, Israel has a very close relationship with the United States, with Britain, with the European Union, and so they can bring stuff up and say, "Look, we need to act on this," and everybody's going to pay attention. There are all kinds of reasons out there for this to have happened. That's the thing about it, to try to pinpoint on one particular thing, because the Israelis had a reason. I'm not sure if it was strong enough in order to get them to do it themselves on American soil. It's the thing that gives me some pause. But even if they brought it to the fore in the intelligence community and signed off on it, and then it was the CIA that did it, I think that the American government is not really happy about foreign intelligence services, even if they're really close, doing ops like this on American soil. They'd rather do it themselves. It's going to be done.
Yeah, right.
Um,
I see your point,
there's a
and
deniability,
y
kind of thing there
yeah,
that you might have, but I don't know that the CIA is that much into. They can paper over stuff pretty well to the
yeah.
point that they preserve their own deniability.
Well, there's also, I mean, we view the deep state as this omnipotent, you know, like Mission Impossible style, you know, capers that all have to go off one right after the other.
Right.
Yeah, they're powerful and influential, but they're not all powerful. Only God is almighty. And they screw up. They make mistakes. I think the shooting of Charlie Kirk was a mistake.
Mhm.
But even if somebody knew about it beforehand, and it's clear now that there was some foreknowledge, that doesn't mean that whoever they is, could have stopped it. Like
Mhm.
like the Mossad, I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, Israel's got its hands full right now, fighting a
Mhm.
six-front war, potentially,
Right. Right.
and I just don't think that they have the resources to go ahead and send a team over to Arizona, to Utah to kill Charlie Kirk. I just don't think they have the resources to do that, nor do I think that they really want to do it. Now, Netanyahu probably does, but again, his hands are full too. I mean, he's traveling all over doing podcasts, trying to humanize the face of evil. You
Yeah.
know, he's probably not sleeping well at night. You're going to make unforced errors. Um,
And he's getting
you
up
know,
there. Yeah.
I mean, if I had to put my finger on one culprit or one party, I'd have to say it's the Democrat Party.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I don't
And
want to
that's
say that.
almost synonymous with the deep state, really. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
the deep state is the paramilitary wing of the Democratic Party in a way. Um,
Well, did you see how many
yeah, I mean,
Democrats did not vote in favor of the resolution honoring Charlie Kirk in the House?
yeah, I saw that.
I
Yeah,
mean,
I
my
saw
God.
that. Just a resolution saying that it's bad the guy got shot.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Which is it's a very strange attitude on the left that your opinions are what entitle you to breathe or
Yeah.
not. If your opinions don't match ours, then you're
Oh,
not
yeah. Yeah.
entitled to breathe. I think probably what happened was maybe with Mossad uh, participation or approval or whatever, they got this little. Then this is where the deniability comes in. They got this little ring of trannies out in Arizona to or Utah, wherever it was, to do this thing, and or at least to it may have been a CIA shooter, and I don't believe that this guy that they have is the one that made the shot.
I,
I think
I can't disagree with you.
yeah, he's too young, first of all, and if he were capable of doing it at that age, it would be because he has a military background. Um, or he worked nah, he wouldn't have worked that long to there's nothing in the civilian world that would have prepared him for that unless I mean his whole family was survivalist or something like that. But that's not
Yeah.
the
Right.
case.
Right.
Um, and this shot was a kill shot. One shot, one kill, and after 4 seconds he was unconscious permanently, and after 4 minutes he was gone.
Yeah.
And that's what the
And
thing was.
And again, as as I saw on the podcast, which we talked about yesterday, it sure looked like a ritual killing. I mean, he was in the
Yeah,
neck.
yeah, that's possible.
Zaruska was stabbed in the neck,
Yeah,
and JFK was shot in the neck. The first shot was in the neck.
first shot was in the neck. Yeah, yeah,
So,
that's true. Yeah, yeah. There's a whole. I mean, somebody made. Jackson Hinkle made a whole list of like 50 things that pointed at the Israeli government
really,
uh,
well,
on
I
this.
mean,
Yeah,
why,
and it's
why don't you put it down, or when you put this
yeah.
thing
I'll
out?
put it in
I
the
would like to
comments.
see that.
Yeah, I'll send it to you and put it in the comments. It was
Yeah.
on X, I think.
Hmm.
But it's against a black background, and it has just two rows of things that are just if you read them and that's all you knew about it, you would say, "Yeah, that's who did it." Um, but in any case, the ominous part about this, I think, is that you're hearing several things coming from the right. One of them is we're done talking. Talking doesn't work. Our guy was trying to talk. You shot
He
him.
was a talker.
Yeah, yeah, that was his. Now, he was 31 years old, so I don't hold this against him at all. But I think that's naive. I do to go in. I mean, I applaud it as something that is noble and that he's trying to change hearts and minds and stuff like that. I think, and it's been this way for a while, that the idea that you can talk your way through the liberal psychosis is just not.
Well, yeah,
You haven't been alive long enough to realize how far back it goes.
yeah. I
But
mean, I if if I talk to Sally's blue hair over here with a nose ring and talk about the Federalist Papers or natural law or why, we should want to have children and get married and blah, blah, blah. And she thinks she occupies a mental space in which it's okay to castrate your son. I'm sorry, literally are two different species there. I mean, it's not,
yeah, yeah, and there's a widespread perception that something has changed, um, and a lot of people have different ways of putting their finger on what it is. But one of the things I also hear is or see is we can't coexist with these people because they don't want us to exist with
no, they
them.
don't. Yeah,
Yeah, that's the same
it's obvious
thing.
now. I
Um,
mean, and even normie Republicans and rhinos are waking up to this fact.
yeah, yeah,
And
um,
not all, but more and more are. And so are
yeah,
Democrats. I mean, I'm watching some YouTubes of Democrats and they're just shocked.
yeah,
A few. I'm not saying there's
yeah.
a road to
I'm
Damascus
sure a few
conversion here
are.
for the entire party.
Manchin, I
No.
saw something of Manchin, and he was shocked about it. And another thing about it is Charlie was the nice one. He was an evangelical Christian. Yeah, we're Orthodox Christians. Um, and his whole idea of talking through this and being nice about it um, comes, I think, a lot from that particular wing of things. Uh, of the I won't say wing of the church because that's not what I believe, but from the wing of Christianity.
Right.
And that um, I believe that they don't really understand that there are a lot of people on the right who are as bad or worse than what they think, the right is, and wouldn't hesitate, to take any of them out on sight. Uh, and you've just really stirred up these people. It's like walking up to a hornet's nest with
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
with a tobacco stick and bam, and expecting one little hornet to come out and register
Yeah.
his protestations. No, no, no.
No.
It's not what's going to happen. So we know that something has changed, and we know that people in general on the right want the government to do something about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. They
And
have
the
to.
president has made noise about doing something about it.
Because if they don't,
Right? Yeah. When you get it's like 83 million gun owners who own 400 million weapons. When we start to go outside in camouflage carrying, it's too late.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You got something else is going on. We decided that, the government no longer represents our interests. and
Right. The whole
we have
social
to,
contract. I realize Jean-Jacques Rousseau came up with that concept, but it makes sense.
yeah,
The purpose of the king is not to live in luxury and in Versailles while everybody else is starving. The purpose of the king is to defend the people, and you do that in a number of ways. You, you know, uh, take take on the invaders or
hmm
punish the evildoers. What does Saint Paul say in Romans? The king does not carry the sword in vain.
yeah, to establish order and punish evil. Yeah. And so they're going to use the feds. They're going to use RICO against the left, against Antifa, against BLM, apparently. And we're going to see that unfold. And you're already seeing at the ICE installations resistance to this whole program. It wasn't initially resistance to this wave, the post Charlie phase. It was the deportations that they were concerned about, and that's why they're doing the thing with ICE. But this is not unrelated. It's kind of a amorphous blob out there that just really doesn't like the idea that MAGA's in charge of the government at this point, and they're willing to stand up and do things, although they don't seem like they're willing to organize into rows of people with actual firearms yet. But I think probably I've wondered, you've wondered, I'm sure, and a lot of people have wondered on the internet what this big conflagration is going to look like if and when it comes about. And it's slowly dawning on me that what's probably going to happen is these efforts of not only ICE, but also the National Guard um, and whoever, the federal authorities uh, pursuing these RICO charges against people. It's not the um, the economic stuff that's going to cause the pushback. It's when people are actually being arrested, detained, or whatever. And at that point, I think these crowds are going to get larger of people resisting federal authorities when they send them in, say, to Memphis or to Los Angeles or to Portland or whatever. And the pushback is going to turn from what is a small contingent of people who are not particularly well armed. They might have some fireworks, essentially. That's what Antifa tends to use. But they're going to get better armed because they realize that they don't have a chance against what's coming at them. And that's kind of what I thought would happen all along, but I didn't see. It's tempting to look at it and say, well, obviously it can't be like the Civil War, the war between the states,
Right.
because you're not probably going to have state governments, um, and it could be between the blue cities and the surrounding areas
Right.
in these states and the red states. Um, but that seems like the most. I mean, the flashpoint is whenever they come into contact with federal authorities, armed federal authorities.
Well, let me ask you, Misha, if you don't mind. I mean, um, well, you're kind of describing it. Do you see this? So, in other words, you're thinking there's going to be lawfare against Soros and Antifa, and that's the head of the snake.
Yeah.
Uh, and I assume you're going to continue. You're expecting to see the continuation of the National Guard
Hmm.
going into these cities and restoring order. Uh, do you think that's going to be enough?
Is it going to be enough to get it going?
So,
To put it
so,
down, I don't know, but to get
so
it
you think
going,
that the left is going to fight back?
yeah,
Really?
I
Okay.
think so. I think they don't see anybody can look at an electoral map and what the Senate looks like and the redistricting things and what the polls look like for the Democrats, and they can say we got a problem for maybe 10, 20 years at the least. We may be locked out of government office, and our numbers may dwindle in Congress for that period of time. So unless we want to go into that uh, quietly into that dark night, we got to do something. And these, I don't think, are the kind of people who want to go quietly into that dark night, especially somebody like Soros and people like him who have a lot of money to throw at it and can use foot soldiers on the ground in the United States the way that America's been using Ukrainians in the Ukraine war.
Uh,
And I think that may be what we're looking at. I mean, there's you got the two groups, and there's the irreconcilable hatred. At this
yeah.
point.
Right.
And I'm not shy about saying, there's a time to love, a time to hate, and when people start mutilating children and doing all the other things, nasty things that the leftists or the liberals have been doing, you're getting into a time to hate.
Yeah.
Um,
Obviously.
and
Yeah.
on their side, it's very open and obvious, and they're murderous about it. already. And so, what was her name? Marjorie Taylor Greene proposed the idea of a national divorce.
Right.
And what do you think about that? Because I'm trying to think of how that might actually work.
You know, I like Marjorie Taylor Greene a lot. Uh, but I just don't see it. I mean, personally, in in my wildest dreams, I would like to see the entire West Coast of certain counties going from Washington State down to, um, but not including San Diego, just a thin red strip, a thin blue strip of counties that include Portland, Seattle,
Hmm.
LA, San Francisco, Oakland,
Right.
and and just recognize that as Libtardistan, and then have an exchange of populations. Have all the people who want to who are normal people and want to live in a normal society come over and live in Utah, Oklahoma, Montana, wherever. And
Hmm.
then all the disaffected blue idiots that live in Austin and Atlanta can go over there. And
Yeah.
but unfortunately that's not going to happen. That make
Yeah.
too much sense. Um and there are
Yeah.
several reasons, and that's because the federal state, the national state I should say, is just too darn strong. I mean,
Hmm.
Pete, we're not in a golden age. There's a lot of poverty out there. I see tent cities everywhere I go, people living under bridges.
Hmm.
Okay. But the federal government can still put out the welfare checks. They can still put out the SNAP benefits. They can still send out the Social Security checks, Medicare, and fund the army for the foreseeable future. So the bureaucracy is still strong. It's evil, but it's strong.
Yeah.
And so I just can't see us yet falling apart or fracturing apart into a clear Mason-Dixon line. And
Yeah.
anyway, as a fairly unreconstructed Southerner myself, why should I? I mean, it's not just the South that's red, it's the Midwest that's red. It's the far West that's red. It's the upper Midwest that's red. I mean, Pennsylvania's now getting redder, you know? I mean,
Yeah.
there's even a possibility of New Jersey going red in the next election, New Hampshire.
Yeah.
Why should I want to break up America under those circumstances when culturally it's going our way?
Yeah.
But I could be wrong. I mean, there could be a black swan that comes in that I just don't foresee.
Yeah. It might depend on how bad it gets, but I see your point because um, what you've got is a whole sea of red and these little blue islands in these cities, urban conurbations, where I guess it's easier to propagandize people, and they all watch CNN or
Yeah,
MSNBC, and but that is shrinking, and so it makes kind of sense. Like Kentucky, where I live, was a Democratic state for a long. It's part of the Solid South and all that, up until Reagan. And in state politics, it was controlled by the Democrats quite a bit after Reagan. But they were blue dog Democrats. They were Democrats that basically governed like Republicans, except for social expenses for
right,
welfare redistribution, that kind of thing.
right.
Now we've got supermajorities. Republicans have supermajorities in both houses.
Uh,
The governor we have now was a fluke because the last governor upset the teachers' unions, which are still very powerful
yeah,
in Kentucky. But he can't do anything because if he can't get anything through the legislature, and even if he could, um, they could override anything that he wants to do.
really. Okay.
So,
Bashir, right? That's his name, Bashir?
Bashir, yeah, Andy Bashir. And so, I mean, you're seeing that more and more in the United States, where it's getting redder and redder, and it's encroaching on, and that's what scares the hell out of them, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
And they see it in Europe as well. Um, and I just kind of think that it may be that they don't put up as much of a fight as I think they're going to put up.
Oh,
It's
okay.
possible.
You see, that's where I'm getting at, and I wanted to get you get your opinion. I mean, I know soy boys. I mean, Tulsa's a fairly bluish city, or purplish, shall we say? And there are certain precincts in Tulsa where all the liberals, go to their special little coffee houses and stuff like that. And I know some of these people, and they're a. I'm sorry, I just don't see them taking up arms and defending themselves against criminals, much less the National Guard.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
I'm thinking more. Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
I'm thinking more of an
I know
expanded.
white liberals who, if a gang of, you know, blacks or Mexicans broke into their house, they'd say, well, it's just our fault. We're just,
Yeah,
evil white
they
guilt,
totally.
stuff like that.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
extremely passive, and they'd blame Trump, something
Yeah,
that's the
yeah,
case.
it's not mutually exclusive. That yeah. Oh, that Trump, he's such an awful person. You just
Hmm.
feel free to take what you need.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there are a lot of. I mean, the ones who are well educated, the professors,
Uh,
doctors, the lawyers. I mean, I don't know very many brave lawyers, honestly. And teachers and people like that. They'll get in a ICE officer's face, even in tactical gear, because they know he's not really going to hurt them.
right.
That's why they would do it. Now, Antifa is a little bit different, and I assume that they will expand. They will get funding. Not only will you see these big pallets of bricks appearing, but you'll see firearms, appearing, and that's what I'm
Well, then
a
it's
big.
on.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
uh, I mean, then the National Guard and ICE are going to be the least of their worries.
yeah, yeah, and in most places, because it's like that meme that's floating around with the guys, one of the 83 million who's got his AR in camouflage, goes out the front door. He's not going out for ice cream, you know. um, and so you have that, and that's the thing. It's just it's hard to tell how big it's going to be, how big the insurrection or rebellion or whatever, to the extent that it gets, how it's going to be. Um, but I think something's going to happen, because the government's got to have to come down hard, and
Uh,
these people aren't the kind of people who will take it lying down. I don't think.
my
But there are
my
limits to what they can do. There are limits to what they can do.
Maybe I'm doing some wishful thinking here, but I'm trying to think strategically.
Yeah,
And my feeling is that if the government goes against the funding, Soros and his ilk, and uses RICO statutes to do it, and or just uses um, the full power of the Department of Justice. I want to read you something, if you don't mind. I
yeah,
got
yeah,
this morning, and this comes from Trump himself. Let's see, where is it here? I thought it was kind of important. Um, General Flynn put this out. General Michael Flynn, who I saw last year. Gail and I went to see him. We, the people, have been demanding accountability for years now. Thank you for today's post. Trust that we'll keep the pressure on at real Donald Trump. Well, this is what at real Donald Trump says. He's responding to somebody named Pam. Um, Pam, I have reviewed over 30 statements and posts saying that essentially, quote, same old story as last time, all talk, no action, nothing is being done. What about Comey, Adam, Shifty Schiff, Letitia? They are all guilty as hell, but nothing is going to be done, close quote. Then we almost put in a Democrat-supported U.S. attorney in Virginia with a really bad Republican past, a woke rhino who was never going to do his job. That's why two of the worst Dem senators pushed him so hard. He even lied to the media and said he quit and that we have had no case, and that we had no case. No, I fired him. There is a great case in many layers, and legal pundits say so. Lindsay is a really good lawyer and likes you a lot. Again, I don't know who Lindsay is. We can't delay any longer. It's killing our reputation and credibility. They impeached me twice and indicted me 5 times. Over nothing. Justice must be served now. President DJT. So
Yeah,
what I
yeah.
hear is some frustration, and this is going straight across the bow to Pam Bondi and Cash
That's who he's
Patel
talking to.
and
That's
Bongino
the
said,
Pam. Yeah,
just
yeah,
just do something, just
yeah.
do something.
Lindsey's
Sick.
probably Graham because South Carolina, that's real close to Florida, and he probably had uh, a hand in putting her in after they nixed the thing on Gates, Matt
Yeah.
Gates, Attorney General. But yeah, that's frustration, and that's an ultimatum if you go public with it.
Yeah. Oh
That's
yeah, yeah,
covering
yeah.
your butt. You're saying like, well, I don't want to fire you, but you
No,
got
I
to
mean,
move your butt,
you
or
know,
I am going to fire you.
and this is
Yes,
where Trump's egomania and narcissism comes in handy. I mean, he's got the pulse of the nation,
yeah,
and they're saying, "We voted for you, man. Do something. Don't just sit there with your thumb up your butt." And
yeah.
then Cash Patel put this out. As the director of the FBI, I'm committed to ensuring the investigation into Charlie Kirk's assassination is thorough and exhaustive, pursuing every lead to its conclusions. The full weight of America's law enforcement agencies are actively following the evidence that has emerged, but our efforts extend beyond initial findings. We are examining every facet of this assassination. We are
Hmm.
meticulously investigating theories and questions, including the location from where the shot was taken, the possibility of accomplices, the text message, confession, and related conversations, Discord chats, the angle of the shot and bullet impact, how the weapon was transported, gestures observed as potential signals near Charlie at the time of his assassination, and visitors to the alleged shooter's residence in the hours and days leading up to September 10, 2025.
Hmm.
So I think he's feeling the heat too.
Yeah, yeah. I heard a funny little description of Cash Patel, which I will share with you when we go off the air, because it was bad enough that it was. But it's funny. I'm not sure that he's up to it. Bongino probably would have, but he got semi-alienated by him, and he's still on board, but I'm not sure what capacity. He's there. He's still deputy director FBI, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know how long that's going to
I don't
last.
either.
Pam, I gave him 6 months, which was 2 months ago, that expired, and I'm glad to see that the Golden Dawn is starting to crack heads and saying y'all gotta move because
Yeah.
my people expect something.
Yeah.
Um, and I think probably the chances that he or Vance or Rubio or any number of other administration officials will be assassinated went up considerably when Kirk was assassinated. Now they're going to they put him behind bulletproof glass and they protect him as best they can. And with Trump, I mean, he doesn't have anything. I think they could probably protect him in all this because of the fact he doesn't have to run again. So anything they do, he can say, well, look, they're shooting people out there. So I have to do it. And it doesn't look bad like I'm hiding. And even if it did look bad like I'm hiding, okay, don't vote for me because I'm not going to be on the next ballot.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's his. That's
The
kind of the pitch.
I mean, I hear the Republic. I hear all the talk, and me being a constitutional Republican, liberal democracy, all that, I hear it. But that only works when there's a cultural consensus. That cultural consensus no longer exists. And, we've had 250 years. That's pretty been, that's a good
It's a good
run,
run.
and maybe we need to, go to a quasi-monarchical type of system. Rome went from a republic to an empire, although they still kept on calling it a republic. They they still kept all of the offices, they kept the Senate, all that stuff. But it was basically a monarchy. And so you had some good monarchs like Augustus, and you had some crazy wackadoodles like Elagabalus. But and I'm not saying we should go there. At the same time, I'm saying that we don't need to put up with these rabid dogs.
Yeah,
Uh, I don't want them executed. I don't want them put in concentration camps. At the same time, I do want to be protected from them.
yes,
And it's up to the government, state and federal, to just go after the funding of these people and, you know, put them in jail. There's this thing about asymmetric warfare. We have seen now literally thousands of TikTokers and YouTubers put on their channel, and they're just dancing in the streets and singing wildly, and happy that Charlie Kirk got mad. So far, I think 50,000 have been fired from their jobs or expelled from their schools,
mm,
and
yeah,
that even includes. And that's just not the TikTokers and the videographers. I mean, people who put out tweets and Facebook postings. I think there
yeah,
was an associate dean of some state university in Tennessee who
yeah,
lost his job. There was a
yeah,
Marine who worked at the Pentagon who lost his job. It's you know, sorry, you know, you shouldn't have acted
yeah,
like a jackass.
yeah. Um,
So, so that may help quell the John Brown gun club people wing of Antifa. I don't know. I don't know.
and yeah, I never heard anybody say that.
Some of these people have jobs. They may not be the best jobs
Yeah,
on.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That may damper it, but they try to be anonymous as best they can.
Well, at
The
first they
ones that are
weren't. They
talking
they
out
were out
loud
there
aren't,
just
but
you know.
they're a lot of them have Kamalovkas and things that they wear when they're at the Antifa events. Um, I think we need a good strong black shirt, brown shirt contingent to put up against them whenever you see them, of private people who don't have to answer to government authorities about what they do. You know,
Yeah,
that sounds bad, but two people could, if one side can cover their faces and engage in violence, the other side can cover their faces and engage in violence.
yeah, right, exactly. I mean, exactly. And there's just all these alienated young men out there who say, "I don't got anything to lose." You know,
Yeah, yeah,
they'll go out there and there's a small contingent of protesters show up 4 miles from our house at 41st and Yale, and that's a major intersection. And they have their signs every Saturday: "No Kings," "F Trump," uh, "How does how does it feel to take a bullet?" How does it? How does Trump's butt taste like? And so I was driving by a couple of Saturdays ago, and I had to stop at the light, and I lowered my window and I said, "I guess you don't want to sign my Trump for God Emperor petition, do you?" And that just set them off. and,
yeah,
and and these guys were my age, or kind of some were less less young, and how dare you, stuff like that. And I said, really? I mean, are you sure? And this one guy says, well, uh uh how I suppose you're going to defend pedophiles. And I guess because supposedly Trump came to Epstein's defense. He's not going to release that. And so I said, well, why are you so homophobic?
Yeah,
Of course, you're
at
not
some
supposed
point it goes
to
full
equate
circle. Yeah,
hum
yeah,
you know, you're not supposed to equate homosexuality with pedophilia, and then that just made that one guy really, really mad. "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, you know, I mean, most homosexuals start out as pedophiles, blah, blah, blah." Then the light turned green and I took off.
yeah,
You know, I mean,
yeah. That's good to
these
get out of
people are
there. Yeah.
incorrigible. I don't know.
Um, the at the heart of all this with the liberals and the left is a nihilistic or nihilistic, however you pronounce it, uh, core of philosophy. It's not even, I wouldn't even grace it with the idea of philosophy, worldview, where there's no God or he doesn't matter. There's no morality other than what we say is morality. Our clique says is morality. Um, and life's a bitch and then you die. And if you have that, and that's it, period. And if you have that mentality, that's a pretty dark mentality to
Yeah,
operate out of.
right.
And I think part of that is why they have this contempt for human life. So what? You know, we're just it's a Epicurean type thing that we just want to live as comfortably and entertained as possible. We don't really care who gets hurt, but we have to keep the tent big enough that we can keep the government going. So we protect all these different classes. And when we don't have enough people, we have to keep expanding it. And that's how you got all the letters, for LGBT.
Yeah.
They had to expand to get more people because they weren't persuading enough people.
Yeah,
you know, you
that's a good insight.
um, and so, but it's the at the heart of this whole thing is just dark nothingness.
Yeah.
That's what they're basing their whole thing on.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah. You know what? You're right. At the same time, though, that's the end state. In the meantime, we have to live with this, and you know, they've been told for so long that people like you and me are Hitler,
mhm,
that even my Uncle Mo at the at our annual Thanksgiving dinner voted, watches Fox News, so therefore he's Hitler. And well, what did he do with Hitler? Well, he's clearly the most horrendous human being who ever lived. Well, you kill
yeah,
him. Okay.
yeah,
Of course, this is going to backfire eventually because some of the center ones are going to say, well, you know, Uncle Mo, he's not that bad of a guy. If he's Hitler, then maybe Hitler wasn't that bad, and they start rethinking things like that. This is an unintended consequence. That's all I'm
yeah.
saying.
I can see that going happening though. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And let's not forget, Hitler was a socialist, and he was for the working man,
yeah.
and
He wanted
so
everybody to start out in the ranks of labor.
yeah,
Um, that was his thing. You
yeah,
would have to pass through the ranks of labor to get
yeah.
into the upper society. He was firm about that. Uh, now I'm not. It's kind of cliche. I'm not defending Hitler. Everybody says that. Um, People are going to revisit his whole legacy and the whole thing about the Holocaust eventually, because you can't just. Um, I believe that there was something that happened during that time. I don't know how widespread it was,
Mhm.
but I don't think you can just ignore the evidence, attach a number to it of 6 million, and say this is the gospel truth, and everybody who doesn't believe it,
Yeah.
has to be censored or struck down or whatever.
Well, the
Uh,
the the uh, the Holocaust religion,
mhm,
Holocaustianity, if you will,
mhm.
is being taken down several notches because we're watching an actual genocide right now in real time in Gaza by the victims of the Holocaust.
Yeah, yeah.
And the uniqueness of the Holocaust has also been given somewhat of a sucker punch by um, Netanyahu when he was on the Patrick Bet David podcast about 3 weeks ago. And Patrick Bet David, who's half Armenian and half Assyrian, said, "Well, how come you guys won't talk about the Holocaust, the Armenian or the Assyrian or the Pontic Greek Holocaust?" And Netanyahu was caught. Well, of course we do. In fact, I think it's going through the Senate right now, or the Knesset right now, and there's going to be a bill, but but I recognize it. It was a very offhand way. I mean, the Israelis, for a couple of reasons, have never wanted to go down to talk about the Armenian Holocaust at all. And there are two reasons for that. And one is because the uniqueness of the Jewish Holocaust, they don't want anything to approach that. And two, because they don't want to piss off the Turks.
Yeah, I could see that.
And but that's coming to an end as well, as is the uniqueness of the Jewish Holocaust. Whether it's 6 million or 4 million or 250,000 ultimately doesn't matter. I mean, it's wrong to kill people because of their ethnicity or their religion, and I'll say that. And I'll say that
Mhm,
until I'm blue in the face. At the same
mhm.
time, to use it as a cudgel so that you can perform war crimes because of something that happened 80 years ago. I mean, those days are gone.
Yeah, they've sunk that boat, and, it's not just everybody else in the world, 85%. It's getting to the point where, um, it's been in liberal circles and democratic circles, it's been for a long time the sympathy for, Palestinians. Now it's going into mainstream, Republican circles, and it's, like, divided about evenly now as to which side they take in this, conflict. Uh, but, that that's really a focused point of nihilism there. The
Right.
idea that, um, people could wipe you out of existence, and therefore you have the right to wipe other people out of existence, so you can say never again. Um, that's a strange little psychological trap they've set for themselves.
Yeah.
It's almost like, what happens in families when you have an abusive father, someone who beats the children or the wife or whatever, and then the male children end up doing the same thing because that's what they saw when they were growing up. Um, but well, I think we're right about at an hour now.
Yeah.
Um, you have anything else that,
Yeah. Maybe next week we'll talk about Irina and the pathology of our cities or something like that. I don't know. I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
This is gonna be something. I think we still got to talk about Irina at least a little bit.
Okay, yeah, yeah. Yeah, we can do a whole 'nother show about the pathology of the cities because that's gonna
Yeah.
be kind of,
Yeah.
a big thing when the boots hit the ground in places, as it seems like they're going to. Yeah, it just has all the I mean, there's so many people now saying civil war or a big conflagration. It wasn't like that before. It's steadily grown, but it took a big, surge with these 2 killings. And so it's a mainstream, um, I don't wanna say that the majority of people believe it's happening, but it's getting there. Uh, and we just don't know what it's gonna look like, and, hopefully, it's gonna be as, you want as much mercy as possible, to reign, but at the same time, there's a underlying reason why all these things are happening, and the main thing is to solve the problem so you don't have to deal with it, you know, so there are not 100 other arenas out there,
Right.
so
Yeah. Yeah.
but, well, we can call it then if you want to. Do you wanna go into arena now, or do you wanna
I don't know. What do you want to do, Misha?
um, well, we can do another 10 minutes on arena if you want to.
Okay, that's fine. I mean that that broke my heart because she was such a beauty, and of course she's
Yeah,
Ukrainian. I mean she's probably Orthodox, probably.
yeah.
I mean to see a beautiful woman like that just savagely attacked. And of course, she looked so pathetic because she had hiked with legs up and she was in a fetal position and she's looking over her shoulder like that. It
Yeah.
is. It's like, you know, I was just so wrong on so many levels.
Yeah. Both these murders kind of cry out for something has to be done because people can't. That's the other thing you hear from a lot of people. We can't live this way anymore. There's no way we can live with. I call them wildings because that's what we used to call when blacks would go out and just you'd see them come up and hit somebody,
Yeah.
knock them cold or
Yeah.
worse, for no apparent reason other than they've been propagandized that Whitey is the enemy
Yeah.
for decades.
Yeah.
Uh, and yeah, the inner cities, it's a cesspool, and they're going to have to send people. It's gotten to the point where we can't say anymore. I don't care what happens in the blue cities. They can eat each other for all I care. That was the attitude that a lot of people had for a while, but it's become a breeding ground for things that don't necessarily stay in the inner cities. I mean, she was a train or bus or whatever
It was a
in North
train,
Carolina. Yeah,
subway, I guess.
train in North Carolina. That's
Charlotte.
not where you think of inner city um, violence necessarily, but that's the thing that I noticed when I was practicing law and sometime thereafter. Um, was that the interstate system serves as a conduit for the drug trade from Florida all the way up and back and forth across, and that's how you could see like the fentanyl epidemic that happened. I remember when that first started, and you had people dropping left and right at a certain socioeconomic level because apparently no one told them how to dose the stuff. People that shoot heroin, and they were shooting fentanyl instead, and they were using similar doses to what they do, and that'll kill you right just like that. And so people were dropping left and right about that. But you could see the pattern of the spread of any particular drug problem by following the interstates and what cities were off of those interstates, because that's where the drug traffickers would go up and they would take off to this or that in order to sell their their stuff that got imported. So I mean, that may be the most significant part of Trump's response to all this is sending National Guard or whoever, even military, into these big cities and cleaning it up like he did DC. Uh, uh,
I mean, again, there's nothing wrong with Caesarism. Oswald Spengler said that, it's inevitable. But you go through these four stages, and to straighten things out, you need a Caesar.
yeah,
I mean, being Orthodox, um, what gave Rome an additional burst of life, the Roman Empire, was Constantine not only accepting Christianity, but moving the capital from Rome, which was thoroughly pagan, to a new city which he could build from the ground up.
right.
Say there's not going to be any pagan rites here at all. And we can say, oh, church and state, church and state, church and state, but it lasted for another 1,100 years.
Yeah,
I mean, that's four times the length of our culture or our
exactly.
republic. And if you want to put those 1,100 years along with the previous 1,000 years of Rome, public and the Western Empire, well, then you got 2,000 plus years. You
Yeah,
know, I mean, that's nothing to sneeze at.
right. Pax Romana. Yes. Um, and you can do all this. That was one of the recurring thoughts that I do want to get out in this little section about Irina Zorutska. You can do all this within the literal framework of the Constitution. The Constitution wasn't designed for a two-party system. The Constitution originally had the person who got the second highest number of votes would be the vice president.
Right.
and the Senate wasn't elected directly or anything. It was appointed
Right.
by the states. The only real part of the government that was directly elected was the House of Representatives,
Hmm.
and that what they did is they put a damper on wars and excessive taxation by saying anything that it has to do with those two subjects has to start in the House of Representatives,
Hmm.
which is the most democratic part of it. But it didn't mean that they believed in democracy or they thought that the majority should get their way. I mean, democracy, said many people, and I'm sure you've heard this before, is two wolves and a sheep deciding what's for dinner. And when you can do, um, you can have an autocratic regime, a full autocratic regime with one person at the head who basically everything goes through and has to approve. I mean, it has to consult. There's not any place, even Saudi Arabia, which is an absolute monarchy, they have to consult each other.
Yeah, I know.
His
I know.
power is not like, it's not a divine thing that where everybody now, even in Japan, for example, they thought the emperor was divine, but he couldn't do whatever he wanted to do, and he ended up being taken advantage of by the people who were, just below him in the
Right.
hierarchy.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you can have an autocratic system. It would be a dominant party system where you'd have, like what you have with United Russia in Russia, or what Orban has turned his thing into, uh, and what Japan was for a long time after the end of World War II. Basically, a one party system, and you might have other parties that are moon parties that circle around. But I tend to think that maybe where we're heading, I hope it's where we're heading, because we've gotten so used to this two-party system, the idea that the government should be schizophrenic, that the idea that the government should have two personalities, that there are two answers to every question, valid answers to every question, and we go back and forth between them all the time, and it drives people in the rest of the world crazy because they don't know what's going to happen during our next election, and policy could, turn 180 um, on a dime. And so that may be a relief to everybody, including, the American people. And it doesn't mean the end of the constitutional system. We still have everything set up. It just means that this obnoxious, murderous, leftist cabal that has vexed the republic for a good long while, that they end up being deposed from power, and that their legitimacy is
Hmm.
is finally.
Well, I mean, culturally, I remember a time in which left or Democrats and Republicans agreed on almost everything, you know,
Mhm.
uh, culturally on the moral issues. And
Kennedy, for the most
and
part.
on the international stage, they pretty much agreed on that too. Communism bad.
Mhm.
In the middle, they would, tinker around the edges, I guess you could say. But the, you know, there were things that you would never even countenance, like, hate to say it, I mean, homosexuality. I mean,
Mhm.
my God, that was a deal breaker. And,
Yeah.
but now, it's like, oh, well, pedophilia, I heard Alan Dershowitz, smart guy. I respect him, say that maybe we should lower the age of consent in women to when they reach puberty. Okay, um, now that's probably normal in a lot of areas of the world, you know, but
Yeah.
it isn't in the West and in Christendom, and to even say that means that we've really crossed a moral Rubicon. And of course, the really militant homosexuals say nothing wrong with uh, pedophilia at all, and and
Yeah.
and they're not talking about 13-year-old boys or ephebes. They're talking about younger than that,
Yeah.
prepubescent. Um, uh, I don't want to dwell on that. Okay, I'm just saying that that's where we are now culturally, and of course, gender dysphoria. Well, Tommy really wants to wear a dress, and I think we need to castrate him. And
Yeah,
and Eleanor, maybe we should uh, cut off her breasts. You know,
Cynthia
um,
Nixon, her, yeah, all my children are transgender, and I don't know anybody whose children aren't transgender.
yeah, I
That's
mean,
crazy. That's
yeah,
a whole
yeah, it is.
subculture of evil.
And we're just going to have to go through that somehow. Maybe fight it in the streets, or maybe do it through legislation, or maybe just the Lord will, in His mercy, will wake people up. And so that 50 years from now, our grandchildren can say, wow, did those people really believe that bullshit back then? Stuff like that. I mean, it was like, yeah, they did, or not. No, not everybody did, but just certain groups of people who had, as you said, have controlled the levers of power, and shoving all this nonsense down our throats.
Well, it'll be looked back like the French Revolution was, or like the Maoist Cultural Revolution
Yeah,
was. There's people who have a frightening appetite for totalitarianism and no moral boundaries whatsoever. They're totally deranged by the ideology. That's what you got, and
yeah,
uh, and a version of that became part of the culture, a constant part of the culture of the civil rights movement, in the mid '60s when it really came to the fore. That part of it is what killed Arena because the idea of this. I've never owned a slave. You've never owned a slave.
right.
We don't know anybody that's ever owned a slave. My grandparents didn't own slaves. Your
Yeah,
grandparents didn't own
yeah.
slaves, and on and on and on. Just this perpetual guilt for, and people wouldn't come up with this unless it were politically useful for them.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, they wouldn't.
Exactly. I think it was David Horowitz who said, but it may not have been him. The issue is never the issue. When it
Yeah,
comes to the left, when they
right.
say, "Oh, we got to have civil rights for
Yeah,
black people." No, that's not what they want. They just want a cudgel in their hands that they can use to beat up another person. Oh, we can't. We have to legalize abortion because otherwise we'll have back alley abortions. Even though right now in legal abortion clinics all over America, women are dying. Okay,
yeah.
you see, but it's the propaganda thing, and as much as I would like to see the Department of Education eradicated, if it's going to
Hmm.
be there, then we need to put our people in there somehow and say, look, we're going to stop it with the propaganda. And yeah, we had slavery, but yeah, we ended it. So did Mexico. So did Brazil. So did England. They ended it too.
Hmm.
And they did it with a stroke of a pen. We had to have a war. Now let's examine why there was a war, and then we can get into it. And, I mean, I think it could have been ended civilly as well here. Regardless, we could talk about it. But slavery is a universal thing. It's everywhere. It has been everywhere practiced in the world. You're not special because your ancestors were slaves. My ancestors were slaves too, but
What
I'm not
killed
going
slavery
around
was the
asking
Industrial
for
Revolution.
reparations. Okay.
Yeah.
I
What
mean,
killed?
the
Go ahead.
Irish and the Scots, when they were sent here, when the British decided to empty their prisons, and they dumped out, the worst scum of the earth in their minds, the Irish and the Scots, who were dirt poor, and said, "Well, we're going to send you to Appalachia, and and you'll probably be scalped, by the way." So, you know, times
Yeah.
are tough. What am I going to say? But we got to somehow just get it through the thick heads of some of these people. Um, and and I am talking about African Americans that it wasn't that bad, or it's not bad now, and B, you're being propagandized purposely to be used as a proxy army so that we can control the streets of your typical blue city. And you're not getting anything out of it. I mean, so what? We have a Martin Luther King Day parade every year. How's that help you materially? And then
Yeah.
and then they got to think about it. Well, no, not really anything at all. You know, uh, you
Just
know,
created a permanent underclass.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
all.
You're just creating a permanent underclass, and eventually they're just gonna have to wake up on their own and say, I'm tired of being used this way by, you, 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 the average liberal, white liberal, as far as I'm concerned. Joe Sobrand said it best. He says the average white liberal, the mating and migratory habits of the average white liberal are no different than that of a Klansman. The average white liberal marries another white liberal, if they get married anymore, but usually they did. And they live in lily white gated communities.
Hmm.
But they're at the Martin Luther King Day parade, virtue signal.
Yeah, as long as it doesn't really affect them, as they can
Yeah,
go to something where it's
yeah,
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 yeah.
exactly. So,
Um,
as far as I'm concerned, they're racist too, because they live like racists. They don't talk like it, but they live like it.
yeah. Well, the hypocrisy is the worst part of it.
Yeah,
Um, so I've thought for a long time that Trump was going to have to establish his own oligarchy to a separate one from what the one that rules things now, in
right.
order for him to be able to accomplish his things, and hopefully that's working. But he's what's also going to have to happen is, um, and I think I've seen efforts on the right to do this, is that you have to come up with something else, some more traditional philosophy. I don't want to say ideology, but a traditional philosophy, and you can't impose it by force. But right below that level of imposing it by force, there's a propagation that's very energetic and robust, and that's what we need to do
Yeah,
with
right.
it.
In incentivize traditionalism. In other words, we'll give you a better tax break if you get married and stay married. We'll give you a stipend if you homeschool your kids.
Yeah,
Um, if you have a Acme widget shop on the corner of Fourth and Main, and on the other side of Fifth and Main, Marvel widget shop is hiring illegal immigrants, then report them to the government, and then when we close them down, we'll give you proceeds from them. In other words, turn them into snitches. You know, you don't have to have ICE doing all the dirty work. You can have ordinary people who have a incentive to do to do the dirty work.
cut them a slice of
You
whatever
know,
they take. Yeah,
yeah, why not?
yeah. Why not? Well, I think that covers it for
Yeah.
this episode.
Well, thank you.
If you like what you saw here, please, well, if you appreciate it, please like and subscribe. And thank you everybody for watching. Thank you, George, for appearing here as my co-host. And we shall see you next time.